Good afternoon, Floss Tube. It's Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is Saturday. It is the 9th of April, and this is Chart of the Week video number 130. Welcome. How are you today? I'm doing well. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm looking forward to going out and enjoying it a little bit when I'm done here. It's later in the day than I usually try and record in the morning, but I did not get anything ready for a video yesterday, so I had to do all the prep work today. So I'm running a little behind. The shop is now closed for the day, for the weekend, and here I am. I hope you've had a great week. I hope you got some stitching done. I haven't had a whole lot of stitching done in the last 2 weeks, which I will explain. But I wanted to start by saying thank you for all the thoughts and prayers for Abby, the baby, and for my nephew Ben. Ben is still dealing with his abscess, but he's holding his own right now, and Abby and the baby are doing fine. She went in, well, it will be 2 weeks ago Monday, this coming Monday. She went into the hospital and they induced, and baby boy was born at about 10:54 on Tuesday morning. 10:52, 10:54, somewhere in there. Tuesday morning. It went fairly quickly compared to her last one, and he's doing great. He was almost 7 pounds, 19.5 inches long. His lungs were fully developed. He did not have to go to the NICU. They did have to regulate his sugars because he was pretty low, so he didn't get a bath for the first day or two because they didn't want him to get cold. And Abby is doing wonderful. He's a good little sleeper. They did not, unfortunately, name him Finn. Nope, they did not. Poor little thing's not going to know what his name is because in my head he's still Finn, and Reese calls him Bob. His cousins call him Hey Hey. And Abby, I noticed when we've been chatting, tends to refer to him as brother, but his real name is Hayden, so... But I don't think anyone has been calling him Hayden. So poor little thing's going to grow up and not know what his name is. But he's a real cutie, and I'm really happy that everything went well for her this time. And again, I thank you all so much for your thoughts and prayers. I firmly believe that they are. They are part of the reason why everything went as good as it did. So, thank you. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, the question of the question of the week was, have you been to a retreat? What kind of retreat do you like? A lot of you have been. And it was pretty evenly divided between those that want to have a designer or a special project or a lecture or something, and those that really don't give a flying fig. They just want to sit and stitch with other people. There are quite a few of you that said you'd never been to a retreat. I want to encourage everyone. I know money can be an object, but there are smaller retreats out there that don't cost an arm and a leg. They tend to get more expensive when you have a designer or a special project, because the shop that's hosting the retreat does have to pay for that design, and to get that designer to the retreat, they don't do it for free. So a no frills retreat would really, does cut down on the cost. But I do want to encourage everyone that would like to go to try and find one to go to, because they are a lot of fun. Whether they have a designer or not, they're still a lot of fun. It's fun to see what everyone is working on. Our retreat is coming up here in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Thursday, I think. And again, ours is a no frills this time. It's a smaller retreat, which I am looking forward to because I will get to talk to everyone. I lost my train of thought. Can you tell? I get to talk to everybody. I don't have to. I'm not running around like a chicken with my head chopped off. I am planning to do what I call mini mania, even though May's not quite. Retreat starts in April, ends in May, so I'm still gonna go for it. I'm still doing mini mania, which is a offshoot of mania, where people start a new project every day of the month of May. I'm not up for that. So we did mini mania 2 years ago the last time we had a spring retreat. It might have been, yeah, it was 2 years ago. And we did a new start for every day of the retreat, so 4 new starts. You worked on your new start for the first 4 hours of the day, and then a bell would ring, and you'd switch to a whip, and you'd work on a whip for 2 hours, and then a bell would ring, and you'd then switch to whips every 2 hours. And then when the time frame, tickle. When the allotted time was up, then you put your piece aside that you were working on tables set up so that everybody could see what everyone else was working. I'm going to have to get a drink of water, so hold on. Hopefully that took care of it. Anyway, everyone puts their items that they've been working on out on the tables because, generally speaking, a lot of us work on more than one thing at retreat, but you tend to put it away and then no one ever gets to see it. So this way, we lay them all out and everyone can walk around at their leisure and look and see what everyone is working on. And by the end of the 4 days, there was just table after table after table of wonderful projects that had been worked on over the weekend. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I haven't figured out yet what I'm going to start for sure, although I think the Prairie Schooler alphabet is going to be one of my starts because I'm insane. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit more about retreats in general at the end. I know some of you don't really give a flying fig, so you just want me to get on with things. So that is what we will do. I do want to address some questions and comments from the last video. Kathy had asked about a Zoom on Saturday. It's just a Zoom with some stitching friends and I. There's about 8 or 9 of us that Zoom on Saturday evenings. So it's not a shop kind of thing. It's just some friends of mine. Lynette commented that she has never met another stitcher in person, which I think is really sad. And I know she doesn't live in the U.S., if I'm remembering correctly. But surely there's got to be someone somewhere who knows, and I'm not sure where she lives. I don't think she said. There's got to be another stitcher somewhere in the area. I know Pam and Steph do a weekly thing where if you send them an email and tell them where you live, they announce that, and then others that maybe live in the area can contact you. So if you haven't done that, maybe you could try that. Contact Pam and Steph from Just Keep Stitching, and maybe they'd be able to help you out. That's you gotta meet other stitchers. You just gotta. Misty, you said you're holding a retreat in September in Casper, Wyoming. Little known fact, I lived in Glen Rock for 7 years, back in the 80s. One of my bestest friends still lives in Glen Rock. I haven't been there. We went back once to visit, but my kids were not impressed with Wyoming, so we never went back. Yeah, so I'm quite familiar with Casper. Well, Casper from 30 years ago. But good luck with your retreat. I hope it goes well. Joanne is just getting back into stitching, and she's trying out 40 count. In reference to a retreat, she says she's not comfortable stitching in front of people. She doesn't stitch in hand, and she stitches with the stab method. And Joanne, I don't stitch in hand, and I do the stab method also. No one should be judging you on how you stitch. Everyone does things however it's comfortable for them. I would like to stitch two-handed, but I'd still be in a Q-snap or a frame of some sort. Stitching in hand doesn't work for me. My tension sucks when I do that. And that's fine. That's me. Other people don't seem to have a problem. Although I will say that I can usually tell when I go to stretch someone's project whether or not they used a Q-snap or a hoop as opposed to in hand or stretcher bars, because they tend to have an hourglass shape. So do not feel bad about how you stitch. Do not feel bad about stitching in front of people. If people are making comments about that, you need to find other people, because we don't judge people on how they stitch. You do you, and be proud of it. So go to a retreat. Penny left a comment telling Dan to go to the doctor. Penny, he still hasn't gone to the doctor, and he's still coughing and hacking up a lung, and I'm kind of tired of it. I even threatened his manhood. Said I was going to feed it to him for dinner if he didn't go to the doctor, and apparently he doesn't value that very much, because he did not go to the doctor. And Becky wanted to know what a mud sale is, because I had mentioned that Deb from Country Stitchers had said I would love to go to a mud sale. Now I'm going to assume, I have never been, so I'm going to assume that a mud sale is sort of kind of like maybe an outdoor flea market kind of thing with old junky, antique-y kind of things. But that's just an assumption on my part, because I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure I'd enjoy it. So that kind of takes care of all of the comments. I will hopefully circle back to the introverts after we're done with today's chart, which is what we're going to move on to right now. It is from Erica Michals. It's called Stitch All the Things. Looks like this. Came out at market. I really like the look of it. It's a sweet little pillow. It wouldn't take very long to stitch, I don't believe. And you can also do the berry. Stitch count for the pillow is 81 by 64, and the berry is 126 by 72. It calls for 30 count Mariner's Map, Legacy Linen from Access Commodities, which I do not have. And it uses Weeks Dye Works and 1 DMC. She gives you all the finishing instructions. She gives you, well, I can't show you that part, but she gives you the template for making the strawberry. And it also comes with the buttons, and it retails for $15. So that is what I have to say about that. This is the color palette. So there's your 1 DMC and your blues. Let's see, can I forgot again. There. How's that? So, since I don't have this Mariner's map, I'm assuming Mariner's map might be something like a light beigey color, creamy color with some beige in it. That kind of looks like maybe an old map would. And it looks pretty light in this picture. So that's kind of what I pulled first to show you. So this is an 18 count cream and sugar Ada from Fiber on a Whim. And it looks like that. Everything shows up well. And it would look pretty much like the picture. If you don't stitch on Ada, I pulled a 32 count Country French Latte. That would also pretty much look like the picture. There's a little pink one hanging back there. So that would be your choices if you were, you know, trying to make it look like the picture. Raw Natural looks good too. Again, it's a little bit darker than the called for, but I think it would be pretty. I always like blues on Raw Natural for some reason. And then the last one I have, it's not the last one. I did a thing, and I'll explain it in just a minute. But the last one I have for these colors would be a 40 count Olympia. Which I think would be really pretty too. Olympia is kind of a crazy color. I kind of like it. But it's pretty splotchy. It has some white, some beige, and some grayish, bluish. So it's really kind of a funky fabric, but I really like it with those blues in there. So you might be thinking that, gosh, she only showed a couple of colors. Well, that's because you know I don't like blue. So I had to pick some different colors and do some other things. Now, a lot of these next fabrics, and the ones that I showed, will also work for these colors that I chose. So I'll probably show, except for the Olympia. I don't think the Olympia would look good with the others. But I'll show, again, everything, just so that you can see what it looks like. But I chose two different colorways. They're similar to each other. One is more bold and one is more subtle. So I've got this colorway. It's a green, a red, a gray, a black, and a gold, which are more my colors. And then for the more subtle colors, they would look a little more aged. Still a green, a red, a gray, a black, a gold, but just a little less in tone, a little more aged looking. So I'm going to hold them both up at the same time. So this is, again, the Country French Latte. And again, it will work, either one will work on that fabric. Just depends on kind of what you're looking for as far as an aesthetic goes. Are you looking for something bolder? Are you looking for something a little more toned down and prim? The Raw Natural, here's Raw Natural. And I can also, I do have a, which I will show you in a minute. I can show you what it would look like, sort of, stitched with those colors. This is 18 count Tobias, one of my favorite colors from Seraphim. And the blue colors would look good on this also. You know, let's get those separated. It's a darker golden brown, but I really like it. Uh-oh. And here's the blue colors on there, so just so you could see that those colors would look good on there too. Hang on a minute. Dropped them. This is a bit lighter. This is 32 count Affogato. It's from Fiber on a Whim. It's a pretty beige, but it does have green in it. And I know a lot of you don't like green. Some of you do. But as a general rule, y'all don't like green in your fabrics. Try and get this. But I think in this case the green really enhances the colors and looks really nice. And the blues would work on this also. Okay, a little bit darker, but still along the same line, is going to be Hazelwood from Fiber on a Whim. It's a little darker brown, but it still has green in it. Can you see the green? And again, all of the colors would go well. Everything would play well together. And the final color I have is Saltbush from Fox and Rabbit. It's a 32 count. And it looks like that. And that's the final fabric. Now, let me give you an idea of what that would look like stitched with the reds that I have chosen. It would look something similar to this. Don't get too close. I don't want you to be able to stitch it from the picture, but that just gives you an idea of what it could look like just done in a different colorway. So that's your chart of the week. I hope you like it. It would stitch up quickly. It would look cute in a bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask the question of the day. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about retreats and about why I didn't make a video last week. So, question for this week. I've had a lot of people in today because it's nice, and they all were in a hurry to get home because they were going to work in their garden. So the question for the week is, do you garden? Do you flower garden? Do you vegetable garden? Do you have a big one? Do you have a little one? Do you not garden at all? I used to do quite a bit of flower gardening back in the day, but I pretty much don't do any anymore. And of course, vegetable garden is not going to be any. I would grow onions because I do like onions and things, and I would probably grow caramel corn. I would grow caramel corn if you could. No, corn on the cob. Except for the fact that it gets stuck in my teeth anymore, so I don't eat it. But otherwise, I don't vegetable garden. But I did used to have a lot of flowers. Not so much anymore. I tend to not like bugs. I get a pretty serious allergic reaction to them, so pretty much I have a pot of flowers on the front porch and a pot on the back, and there's some perennials growing in some flower beds, but I don't take care of them like I should, so I don't. So I'm just wondering how many of you actually do and how many of you don't garden of any kind. Now, introverts. I had a lot of you say you don't go to a retreat because you're an introvert. Well, I am also an introvert, and I understand what it's like to go to some place that you haven't been before, and you don't know anyone. But as a general rule, most stitchers are very friendly. And if someone new comes in and you ask to sit at their table, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, sure, come join us. And they're going to chat with you about where you're from and what you like to stitch. And they're going to show you what they like to stitch. And before you know it, you're going to be friends. So I want to just say, please don't let that stop you from going to a retreat. I'm an introvert. I took F's in school instead of getting up in front of the classroom and giving a speech. Doing these videos causes me high anxiety because I'm just not comfortable in front of people. I'm not comfortable around a lot of people, and I'm not comfortable going places I've never been. But I think you should give it a try. Like I said, most people are. I know at my retreat, I do like to give the people who are new the option to sit at my table, because at least most of them somewhat are familiar with me. Now, a lot of times they say no, they're going to go sit with other people, and that's fine too. My retreats are really relaxed. I don't have a whole lot of rules. Most everyone is very pleasant to be around, except for Carol. If you get her up in the morning, not so much. Carol does not like to get up in the morning for breakfast. But by and large, everyone is going to be very nice to newbies, and I don't think you should let that prevent you from going to a retreat. So I'm coming down off my soapbox. Choose a small retreat. Don't be nervous about the quality of your stitching. No one's judging you. I have never looked at anyone else's stitching at a retreat and gone or even thought to myself, whoa, that's some really poor stitching. It's never happened. I think the only time I have judged anyone was the piece that I got in to frame, and instead of stitching in the yellow parts, there was a whole bunch of yellow parts. The person used a yellow highlighter and colored it in. And then I wasn't judging her stitching, because her stitching was fine. I was judging the fact that she used a yellow highlighter to color in the parts she decided she didn't want to stitch. So no one's going to make fun of your stitching. No one's going to point it out to you, unless you ask their opinion. You know, if someone asks me my opinion of their stitching, I'm going to give them the honest truth. You know, hey, you could do a little better. Like some of the people I frame for have asked me, and what they can do to improve, and I'll let them know your tension is too tight, or you know, have you tried the railroad method to get your stitches to lay a little better? Because if you were to take them to a fair, those are the things they're going to look at. They're going to look at cleanliness. They're going to look at how your stitches lay. They're going to look at whether your tension is too tight. So if you ask, I'm going to tell you. If you don't ask, no one's going to point it out and say, hey, did you know your tension sucks? So don't worry about that. Don't worry about whatever method you use to stitch, whether you use a hoop, a Q-snap, a frame, in hand, two-handed, one-handed, upside down and backwards. We're not going to judge you. It's just not something we do. So give it a whirl. Go out there and find a retreat that you can afford, that's close, and give it a try. They're fun. I guarantee you that they are fun. So, okay. Why didn't I make a video last week? Well, I'll tell you why I didn't make a video last week. We went to the hospital on Wednesday. We were trading off the other grandparents. We were going to pick up Reese and bring her home to stay with us until they were releasing Abby and Hayden. Hold on just a minute. Someone's trying to come through the door. Oh, they walked away. Okay. So we went to the hospital. I got up that morning. Well, let me back up. Sometime in the middle of the night on Tuesday, I rolled over in bed, and I just lodged the little crystals in my ears and got really dizzy. And so I wasn't feeling the greatest when we got to the hospital because I was dizzy. And Dan pretty much took care of Reese on Wednesday, again, because I was so dizzy. But as the day went on, I just started feeling a little more than just dizzy. I felt off. And went to bed that night. I didn't feel horrible. I just felt a little off, and I was dizzy. Got up Thursday morning. They were going to release Abby and Hayden, and I was supposed to take Reese to the hospital so they could leave from the hospital and go home, because we're a half an hour in the other direction from the hospital as opposed to where they needed to go. But when I got up, I did not feel well at all, and I was still real dizzy, and I didn't feel it was in Reese's best interest for me to be driving a car with her in it. So I called Abby, and they said, yeah, they would just come and pick her up then. And they got there about 12, loaded the car real quick, and took off. And I went upstairs to bed, and I didn't get out of bed again, with the exception of running to the bathroom, until Friday night. I had the stomach flu. I felt like crap. I have not had the stomach flu in I don't know how long. And I tell you, this thing just lingered. It was Thursday, 2 days ago, before I actually felt somewhat decent. I did come into work on Saturday. I did not come to work on Friday. And then on Saturday I came into work because there were orders that had been sitting there since Tuesday night. And I didn't want people to be mad at me for not getting their orders out. And there were emails that didn't get answered. So I came in Saturday with the intention of just getting the mail orders taken care of, answering the emails, and then going home. However, it took a little longer than I thought, and it's despite having put a note up on the front door saying, warning, in big red letters, I have the stomach flu, enter at your own risk. They just kept coming. It did not stop anyone from walking through that door. So I was here until 1:30 on Saturday. As soon as the last person left, I headed to the bathroom. And then I went home. And I pretty much sat in a chair for the rest of the weekend, all day on Monday. I came to work on Tuesday, but I was still not feeling well. And like I said, it was Thursday before I felt better. So that is why a video didn't get made. I'm feeling all better now, so this weekend should be a better weekend. I'm going to go home. I got cleaning to do because Easter is next weekend and I'm hosting, so I've got to finish some cleaning since none of it got done last weekend. I'm hoping to get some stitching time in. Got Zoom tonight. I need to place an order for groceries. So lots to do. Dan's going out to the farm tomorrow. He's been building Reese a sandbox. It was supposed to be like her birthday / Easter gift. So he's building her a sandbox, and I think he's planning to take it out there. His mother is coming down to, so she can go out there, and she's not ever seen Abby's new house. So she's coming out, and they're going to go out to the farm. I'm going to stay home and work on the house, and maybe squeak out a little deck sitting time. It's supposed to be 70 tomorrow. So I'm hoping I can do that if I work really hard in the morning. And that will be my weekend, and then be back here on Tuesday. So that's pretty much all I have to say, I think. I want to thank you for commenting. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. We had like 75 comments on the last one. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It helps with my analytics and bumping me up so that more people get to see the videos. So I do appreciate your efforts there to comment and to subscribe. I appreciate it greatly. And I'm wishing you a wonderful week, and I will see you next Saturday. You take care. Until then, get some stitching done. Bye.